Welcome to Cantina Vizsla, a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force.
Featuring news, information, and theory crafting on what has happened this week in the game.
Don't do that.
With your hosts,
Let me see your identification.
Sparrow.
You know, sometimes I amaze even myself.
And Stan.
Don't fail me again, Admiral.
Coming to you from the panic room in the crap part of the cantina, I'm Sparrow, and with me, as always, is a man who some say is the only person in the galaxy that C-3PO cannot translate. All I know is I call him Stan.
You get this southern accent, a bunch of medication, and just a mumbly talking style in general. Yeah, he ain't got a chance.
That is right. I heard it. He said does not compute. And joining us tonight again is the guild leader extraordinaire, GP Optimizer, the man with the golden boot, Ethien.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Not much.
Not much.
No, just another week, another lovely update from CG and everything, getting us on our toes. So plenty to talk about.
Yeah, that was a triple whammy. Three quick updates in succession.
Yeah, with a stealth nerf / bug fix in there. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention it. We fixed this bug that no one knew about. Oh, gotta love when they pull that off.
Oh yeah.
So, before we get into the game, I'm sure everybody wants to know, how's your week been, Stan? You feeling better?
I'm alive.
You know where you are?
Yeah, I am at the house. Still kind of on some Mucinex and some medication, so a little sniffly, so apologies for that, but so much better. I think I'm going to survive.
Man.
Just in time for corporate holiday party season and going out and doing all those fun festivities.
And then trying to survive the next morning.
Yes, indeed. But it was a good time. Let's see what you've been up to.
It's a good time. Are you being sick? What?
Well, yeah. If you're going to be sick, might as well get, like, swag and free dinners.
That's right. So, yeah, what have you been up to, Ethien?
Yeah, I mean, holiday season's crazy. In my downtime, watching season 3 of Last Kingdom on Netflix. My 3-year-old daughter's got all of her winter shows going on. Her school does a winter show, and then she's in dance class. She's got her winter dance pageant coming up, and just lots of winter stuff. And then just the general holiday madness. I work in retail, so
sorry,
it's extra insane.
Yeah.
Been there, done that for many years. That's
I do it by choice. I'm a manager, so I get to try and inspire everybody to not quit on the.
I was a manager too. It just meant I actually stayed there longer to clean up after everybody or people calling off. But yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah,
I
I
was,
think. Go ahead.
I was going to pimp a Amazon deal later, but since they're like the arch nemesis of retail, maybe I'll just let that one slide this week.
No, go ahead. I work in coffee, so
okay.
Different kind of retail.
I love coffee. Yeah, speaking of holiday madness, if you're out there looking for Star Wars gifts, Amazon's got a pretty good sale going on today. So if you listen quick, you may be able to catch the tail end of that sale.
Very nice. So, yeah, I've been going through. I did not go onto Amazon and get anything yet, but I got the new Smash Brothers for Switch. So I've been enjoying that, playing that, unlocking characters. Had a lovely experience of, you go through and download a game and the system says there's not enough memory. And I'm like, come on. So I had to go out and get a SD card and everything to actually be able to download the game before I could play it. So that was a whole ordeal in of itself.
And now you got an external hard drive for everything?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't work with the Switch. I had a little micro SD card. I do have external hard drive. It's like the one memory card that actually didn't have. So I was like, all right. And that was after helping my brother move, and of course it's 20 degrees here all weekend as we're moving stuff, and he's like, I don't have any lights outside. Can you go through and work on that spotlight and try to get that working and other things working? And I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. Bundled up, go through, do one light at a time, and then go inside and try to feel my hands again. So
that sounds miserable.
Oh, it was lovely. And then I've been, of course, keeping up with the new Doctor Who season, so I can't get enough of that. I've been watching actually old seasons of it because I'm getting back into it, really enjoying it again.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I guess before we get too much further into it, in case people missed the last show you were on, Ethan, who the hell are you?
Oh, yeah. So I am a guild leader, as Sparrow said. I'm a guild leader of 2 of the guilds in our cluster. So yeah, I lead 2 guilds. That's insane. Along with that, I help just manage cluster logistics. I'm a live streamer and a content creator myself. I do a couple videos. Generally, I focus on trying to teach the nuance of this extremely complex game that we love. So, I'm around on Stan and Sparrow's Discord, and then I'm also in our main cluster Discord with all the 22 guilds there, trying to help corral cats and stuff like that.
Cool. Hey, go and pimp your stream. Where can they find all that at?
So my stream is too complex. I need to work on that. It's too complex to spell out on audio, kind of thing. But you can check everything out for both Stan Sparrow, myself, and a couple other content creators at thealliancegaming.com. That's usually the best spot. And then from there, it takes you to YouTube and all that fun stuff. So.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, big shout-outs to thealliancegaming.com. We're getting a lot of support and a lot of views from that site, so great job with all that. Thanks, Pilar, for all the help you do on that as well. So
yeah, she's definitely extremely helpful in ensuring all the content gets up there. It wouldn't be up there if she didn't help out, so we appreciate her.
Absolutely. All right, anything else before we move on?
I don't think so, unless you want to go into Patreon real quick, and then we'll get into the game here.
Yeah, with this new Grand Arena mode, we've been talking about it, and we found something. We have a new tier of patron rewards. For the $5 tier, this will give you access to a Grand Arena recon. It's kind of like a reverse roster review. We will look at your opponent's roster either through swgoh.gg or just send us some screenshots. We'll help you plan your defense, set your offense. Can't guarantee you a win, but we will do our damnedest.
Yeah, we'll help you out, try to make some decisions, help you make some decisions, and yeah, as you know, we both do not like moving mods around, so we know what mods to put on them. We aren't going to be the greatest at optimizing mods, but we are good at going through and deciphering how someone's actually been playing the game and trying to come up with a good strategy to be competitive within the Grand Arena.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. But you can find information on that at patreon.com/Cantina Vizsla.
All right. So now that we got that out of the way, we talked a little bit about the game. Let's get right into it. We know what we've been working towards, so did you get anything done in the game this week?
I did. I finished that Houndstooth node. I never have to farm it again. I'm thrilled.
Sure you don't.
Yeah. So I finished that up.
Oh.
Yeah, I was real happy for about a day. Yeah, and then I was sitting around Sunday morning just kind of bored and put a Zeta on Chirpa.
All right. Man.
Yeah. I never follow my own advice. I was like, just sit on the side, don't gear up your Ewoks, just wait for the events, see the kit and all that, and I geared up all my Ewoks and put a Zeta on them.
Yeah, I am pretty much kind of in the same boat as you did, so I did not quite take my advice either and going through and be like, oh yeah, my Ewoks, I'm going to go through and see if Tebow or Scout or anybody else is going to be needed before I start gearing. Nope, didn't take that advice. Went through Chirpa, Wicket, Ewok Elder, Logray, and Pat Blue. they're all at least everybody's gear 10, and Ewok Elder and Logray are already gear 11. Because, that happened, and I might as well just keep kicking up the gear levels and going through. So, I am holding on to the Zetas, though. I am holding on to the Zetas.
I would have, but with Grand Arena out and kind of seeing more how it works, I felt just having an extra team wouldn't be a bad idea. So I went ahead and just committed to it.
Yeah, knowing this was just an exhibition round, I wasn't too worried about putting a Zeta on the Ewoks yet, but that was kind of my thought too. Between Grand Arena and Territory Wars, I figured, you know what, I might as well just go right ahead, gear up the Ewoks all the way, because it'll give me a solid team within those game modes. And there's no point of taking them up to gear 10, gear 11 to actually beat this event and then turn around and not use them again. So I might as well kick them up that last gear level and make them really good. But the other thing I actually was going through was actually talking to Zeke, who is on our Discord server and in our guild, and he just happens to be in my ship arena also. And we got to talking, and he's like, hey, check out this team I've been running for ships. And I take a look at it, and it's Ghost, Phantom, Xanadu Blood, Houndstooth, Vader's TIE Fighter. He had 5s in there, Boba Fett. And I'm like, you know what? I have all those guys geared up and going through. So I switched over to that, and man, I went from being like just right around 50 just with that old ship meta to now I have 3 days at number 1 already, and I can easily get top 10 now, and I just sit at top 10. The furthest I've fallen is 20. So it's making a huge difference farming these Ewoks too, especially when the last 3 out of the last 5 days I've been able to get rank 1. So man, that helps with the crystal influx to actually buy gear and get my crystal reserves back up, which is really nice. So really enjoying ships right now. I actually just go through with my regular arena, get right around top 10, jump into the top 10, and just sit there, and then I'll blast through my ships. And it's kind of weird. There's actually no one in my Eastern time zone for my ships payout. So I can actually go through and climb as soon as everybody in Europe is done. I can sit at 1 for 2-3 hours and not have to worry about it. So it is real nice, and definitely enjoying ships more with that team. And what the team is starting off with Xanadu Blood, Houndstooth, and Ghost, having the Phantom 2, Biggs, TIE Fighter, or Vader's TIE, and then I have Biggs X-Wing in there and he has 5's ship in there. Seems to be working out. I don't really have an issue other than if there's just a TIE Fighter in there, because you go through and if you start spamming AoEs, he dodges so much, and then you give your opponent's capital ship so much turn meter that you basically run yourself into a hole. But other than that, it works great. I haven't really lost a match at all.
Are you using Chimera or
Chimera? Yeah, okay. I'm using Chimera just because. Yeah, I don't have Tarkin really geared up, and I don't, believe it or not, I don't have that capital ship maxed out. Went with Home 1 and Chimera.
You got to post a screenshot of that team.
Yeah, definitely. It works really well. It's fun to play with, and you pretty much have to have your Phoenix maxed out. And I kind of have to want to work on Zeb now, just because to get the Ghost up a little bit higher, because it's a little squishy to be there on the starting line for me. And the team can kind of go downhill pretty quickly, especially if he gets targeted and taken out right away. But
yeah, I think the Ghost is a unsung hero of Fleet still. And I think that with the meta shift away from bugs, that Ghost will start popping up a lot more. I think there's some teams where Ghost is with Anakin and Ghost is with the bounty hunters, and goes just because the negative potency that it applies just kind of wrecks all the other teams. It just makes it really hard to land debuffs. So
Yeah, that team is so fun to play with. I really enjoy it, and you're almost always in the match. So, what have you been up to this week, Ethan?
I also finished Houndstooth like Stan. It was a.
I had to. Both of you.
No.
I mean, congratulations on getting Houndstooth done. But yeah, CG just, man, they really
They
gave
broke
it to
us.
you there.
Yeah.
I think Stan and I are kind of very similar play styles in that, like, you know, we're right on the cusp of the game. We're waiting for the new content to be dropped in free to play so that we can speed rush it. Double burning, you know, extra refreshes, burning crystal to farm that one specific node. So we're always ready for the next content, and then when they do something like that, you're just like, really? What?
Right. You know, it's amazing the Houndtooth drop rate once you've maxed it out, too.
Yeah. You get one Django and 6 Houndstooth, you're like, where
Right.
is that a week ago?
And I'm getting exactly the opposite. I'm trying to farm Houndstooth up a little bit quicker than Django, and I get 1 Houndstooth and 5 Django.
Yeah, I hope. Django, I think, is still going to be totally worth it. So he's not a weak character, but it just feels, you know, we're just going to keep padding that shard shop currency. It's just going to keep going up. I don't think I can spend it fast enough right now. So, I dropped a Zeta on Vander for the same reason that Sparrow said. He Zeta he geared up his Ewoks. He didn't Zeta his Ewoks. I needed another team for the Grand Arena to make sure that I could hold. And Zeta Vandor is just a cheesy team. He's just so much fun to watch. So he was actually the reason I did well this time around, which was really cool. I am sitting on about 100 Zeta materials for the Ewoks. I don't think I'm going to use all of them, but I'm definitely planning on, as needed, Zating Logray, Chirpa, Wicket, Paplo in that order. But I like to sit on my materials, sit on my gear, wait for as needed kind of thing.
So, out of everything that I've seen and actually looking at the Ewoks, that kind of surprises me that Logray is that high. I would have thought Chirpa and Wicket would have been the first two.
So as the team plays, you know, Chirpa always seems like the first one to go for because he calls assists. And so, yeah, of course, Ewoks calling assists, great. It's going to work out. And Wicket's got the heals. Wicket just kind of adds that survivability. But Logray is actually the key to this team's survivability in Grand Arena or Territory Wars or anything like that. So just to kind of verbatim read his Zeta is when he's active, whenever they score a critical hit, which Ewoks are doing all the time with all their buffs, they gain health up, which is their survivability. And then all Ewok allies that had health up recover 10% health. And so it's whenever they're scoring any critical hits, they're healing the entire team, which can happen really fast with Wicket's AoEs and the amount of turn meter generation that they get. It's just the one that you kind of want to get to keep their survivability, and you don't even need Chirpa Zeta with all the called assists to make that really work. The called assists just increase the destructiveness of the team. So I don't know. I really think that that's kind of the key to Territory Wars is that survivability, both on offense or defense.
So it's going to be more kind of depending on the event itself. If you actually need more damage, it's probably better off going Chirpa, Wicket, and then Logray. But if you're trying to get survivability at low gear, Logray may be the Zeta to have then, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, the event will tell. I don't think that we'll be able to choose. I just really feel like, you know, Logray. I feel like Logray will be the Dengar of the event. He's the same exact farm spot. He comes from the guild currency. He is the turn meter control and survivability for the team. He gives foresight to the entire team. So yeah, he's just kind of the control element to the team. He's the Thrawn of the team. He's the Nest of the team. I really think that he'll probably be key to winning the fight. A lot of people say Wicket, but at this point, Wicket's one of the easier farms with the 10 guaranteed shards every single, twice a month, once a month kind of thing with that event. Plus he's farmable on a hard node, which doesn't make it easy. But whereas Logray, you have to sit down and focus in guild currency to make him happen kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could see it either way. And actually, with how many Zeta mats you're sitting on, you could easily do 3 and still have plenty of Zetas for C3PO, because as we've gone through and experienced, a legendary character is pretty much almost guaranteed to have 2 Zetas, and then the hero's journey or journey characters usually have those 3 Zetas, so you should be pretty safe to at least spend 3 of those.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, as you were saying, your Ewoks are gear 10. Mine are gear 8, and except for my Ewok Elder is 10, but mine are not geared up. So I am sitting on the materials to make it happen, but I want to minimize. I want to float through this event at the lowest cost to me towards Ewoks possible.
I'm going to be using my Ewoks in Grand Arena and Territory Wars, and we do have, in our guild, we have a couple guys that have max out Ewoks. They just say they walk over First Order teams. So, I mean, that's perfect for what I see. So I'm like going through, I'm like, all right, well, if you're telling me if I gear up these Ewoks, I can just go through and take out a First Order team, not a problem. I will gladly do that. But yeah, I just got Logray and Ewok Elder to gear 11 just today. And then everybody else is gear 10, like I said, with pieces. And if you're sitting at that 8-9 level, let me tell you, buy those shower drains, those Mark 3s.
Yeah.
They, like, every gear level for every Ewok takes, like, at least 2 of them.
I caught your stream last time and heard that, so I instantly started making sure I was buying every single one I saw. So
actually, the other place to actually buy them is in the weekly shipments. They actually don't pop up in the where can you find them, and it's 5 of them for 1,500 crystals, which is 300 a pop, and that 5 will go very quickly if you have the crystals for it.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, they are there. Okay. I kind of ran into it afterwards, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. When I needed 6 of them, I could have just bought them right there and been fine, rather than waiting, hoping for them to show up.
I think the big pro tip for everybody not really used to the Ewoks is just get your Ewok Elder up. He's the Resurrector. You know, he under Chirpa Lead, his basic attacks generate turn meter for the entire team. Pretty hefty amount, so... I think he's the key. Obviously, like, the ancillary characters are going to be needed, and there's going to be some flexibility there. I think Tebow will be kind of cool. Like, we all have him.
I think Chirpa is kind of like one of those needed characters, though, just because he has that leader ability.
Tebow's lead has the stealth, so maybe the stealth helps. It would just suck if it's like the other side is a bunch of Dengars, like, and we won't be able to stealth.
Until everybody stealths, and then you're like, yay, I'm glad we have the stealth ability, and now everybody's underneath stealth, so it makes absolutely no difference.
That's where Paplo comes in. Paplo's unique ability says if he were to gain stealth, he gains taunt instead. And so everybody can hide right behind Paplo. So I think, again, I don't know how hard the event will be, but I think the team has enough flexibility that we're not going to be so pigeonholed like we were with the Chewbacca event, where we're just, like, really wishing we had a Dengar and a Bosk right now.
Yeah, luckily I hit both of those, and I think I'm curious to see when Chewbacca comes back, just to see how much people struggle with it, or if they struggle with it. With Boss being farmable, Embo was a really good character in there. So if you had Bosk, Embo, and Dengar, it seemed like that event actually wasn't that... I mean, you still needed gear 10, gear 11, but it wasn't as bad as people going in with a Boba Fett lead.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that second round of the Chewie, the second round of the Revan. I think it,
I can't wait for the second round of the Revan. I cannot wait. I got everybody ready now. But before we get too much of... I mean, we already pretty much went down the rabbit hole there. Stan, do we have any Star Wars news here before we get even any further into the game?
Nothing too much that I saw. They did have the mid-season finale of Resistance, which was actually one of the best episodes of that show so far. They had all the big names in it: Leia, Phasma, Poe. So bringing out the big guns. But, I hate mid-season finale. Whoever came up with that stupid concept needs to go somewhere.
I think the person that perfected it would be The Walking Dead.
Yeah, well, they need to go somewhere, too, for completely different reasons.
He's riding that roller coaster. He's really down on it. They picked him back up, and then they're just shooting him straight down.
Yep.
So, let's start getting into the game then. They did finally release an event calendar for December. So, what are we looking forward to within this event calendar?
All right, we had a couple of updates with the kind of failure to launch of Grand Arena within its redo. But, so we're recording on the 10th. We've got Ground War going on today. Ewoks and Empire Omega Battle will be on the 13th. Got Executrix on the 15th. The 16th, Rebel Roundup. Secrets and Shadows on the 19th. And Endurance on the 21st. Got Grandmaster's Training Mythic coming back on this, Christmas Eve, December 24th. Let's see. Artist of War Mythic on the 25th. One Famous Wookiee coming back on the 27th.
Oh, yeah.
And got a few Defensive Dathomir, Pieces of Plans Mythic on the 29th. And Defensive Dathomir on New Year's Eve.
Very nice.
Yeah, and some Territory Wars and Territory Battles to round out the rest of the month.
Which all just got jumbled up, right? Like the Territory War is supposed to sign up start today, but it didn't. So
yeah, I was supposed to. They're having to push it because of the Grand Arena.
We'll see what happens.
And where does the Grand Arena fit into all this?
That's a good question.
Have they said?
It just goes. It's a 7-day event, so I think that they can just start it on a Monday. And obviously, like today was round 0, so they don't have to start it on a Monday, but they can start it on any day. It's sign up, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense, offense. That's 7 days. So
I hope so.
Yeah,
I like playing it, so I wouldn't be upset about that.
Yeah, I've seen some people say they want to see this once a month, and that's crazy talk. I want this every day.
Yeah, so I understand, like, it's extra arena, it's extra, but it's definitely not like your normal arena where you have a payout like that you have to worry about. You can play this battles whenever you want. Like,
right, yeah.
I hope they continue to bring speed of quality of life to the game, make it so that I can sim more things, but at the same time, it's not heavily time consuming. I can do one battle at lunch, one battle here,
That and going through the way they have it set up and the way they announced it is now that this first round has gone by, as soon as you set a team or set one defensive squad, that's locked in. So you don't only have to do anything on those off days. It'll automatically set what you had up last time unless you want to change it. So you can go through and set a constant defense and just worry about it every other day going in there and attacking.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Yeah.
But,
yeah, that was all the Star Wars news, and that was all the calendar stuff. So, yeah, Grand Arena. What y'all think?
Well, yeah, actually, before we get into there, I kind of wanted to go through, like, when Grand Arena actually showed up within the game. They went through and people started data mining the crap out of the update to try to figure out what's there. And we talked about it last week of this leak that came out with the Mythic Raids. And all of a sudden, in the data mining, a whole bunch of data and everything showing up with everything referencing arcade raids with different stuff with the Rancor. So it seems like it's coming true. It seems like they are working on an update or something to the raid. So here's hoping the Rancor is getting an update and everything, because, man, that first raid was absolutely amazing. Trying to actually beat it for the first time, gearing up teams for it, trying to figure out the mechanics of a whole new thing. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm glad to start to see more and more evidence that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, the only thing I'm not looking forward to is that Panic Farm for Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, because that's in that leak also. And so if Mythic Raids come true and the original trilogy Millennium Falcon come out, that means the only thing that leak has missed on is General Grievous, which I don't know why you leave General Grievous out of there with the malevolence. For some odd reason other than just to poke fun at Arnold. Be like, Arnold's going to delete his channel if we don't put this in. Ha! We'll put it in January just to see what he does.
I've got a theory, and it has to do with Grand Arena. Well, I'll get to that later.
All right, fair enough. Then, that's pretty much everything that actually happened within the data mine. And, man, that update with the Grand Arena rollout, let's get right into what happened with the Grand Arena.
It was not that grand right away.
In classic EA functioning, it broke.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it came in on fire. Couldn't finish matches. If you won, it would not tally your points. It would crash the game. You would clear the team, but it wouldn't give you any points for it.
It required a hotfix to let anybody over 4 million GP actually even log into Grand Arena when the update hit. That was a good one too. I didn't have
a problem getting into it.
Oh, really? You might have missed it. Like right when the update started hitting, and you can actually log into the Grand Arena. Everybody that was like a 4 million plus GP couldn't basically you would just get a constant loading screen and it wouldn't load for you.
Oh.
And they quickly did a hot fix for that and actually got people in. But that was a funny one too.
Okay.
I know they're afraid of leaks, but I really think like let's get beta testers going. Like I will test this stuff out. I will help you figure this out, and I will not leak any information. I want to help make this game amazing.
Yeah, I know they've beta tested this. It's just one of those things that I think they probably should have did a open beta like they did for Territory Wars. Just to stress their servers, because I think this wasn't so much the game mode having issues. I think it was more of a stress test on the servers in which it was going through
the battle.
Yeah, it wasn't logging the battles because of how many people were attacking and something like that more than anything else. So, yeah, I think they should have did an open beta with this just to stress test it, which, honestly, the way they phrased this as a Season 0 exhibition match, I think that's kind of what they were going at. Was more of a stress test. I wish they would have just came out and said that, hey guys, this is more of a stress test. We expect bugs. Don't worry about it. We're going to get this all tidied up and streamlined here before we start this first season and actually add exactly what this is going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, they handled it well, though. They pulled it right away. They gave everybody first place rewards. The only downside I could come up with is it screwed up some of my quest progression to where I'm probably not as far as in the quest as some other people, but after another two of these, it's not going to matter.
Not by much. I mean, it's only people that got in there or was able to complete something within the first hour. So
I got in and got my 600k credits quick.
Right. Yeah, but they brought it right back. Gave, so still had something cool to play with. So, making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get right into it. What was... I don't know. You want to go into initial impressions? Go over how you got matched up and how you did it with your first attack? Or you want to go... Let's do initial impressions first.
Yeah, so Ethan go first.
All right.
Yeah, so I mean, I live for the competitive edge of this game. Arena Territory War. I am super excited about it. The amount of defense that they chose is intense, and I enjoy it. It's daunting, like to fill 6 almost, and then very soon I'm going to have to start filling 7 defensive teams and win 7 offensive teams. I don't have that kind of roster depth. I don't feel like I do. So obviously there's some like critical decisions that you have to make of like, is this team one I'm going to leave on defense and then watch him get 60 banners on, or is this a team that I want to hold for offense and try and eke through a win? So I think those huge decisions, as you mentioned at the top of your thing, your Patreons can benefit from that kind of knowledge. Like those are those are some rough decisions. I eked out a win on my initial match kind of thing against a player who was, in all intents and purposes, an exact same roster of mine. So, yeah, I'm really excited about it.
So your matchup was pretty even as far as character GP and how many gear 12 and things like that?
Yeah, so my character GP is, I think, 30,000 higher than him. Hold on one moment. I'll double check this. 3942 versus his 3932. So 10,000 galactic power more than him. He has a Revan. I have a Revan. He had a little bit less Zetas and definitely a lot less mods, so I felt like I had it in the bag, of course. Like, I walked into it really excited, and, I got this guy. I messaged him in-game, which was really fun because you can talk to your opponents. I was very respectful. I didn't want to be rude. He lost to 32 points, 28 banners. Sorry, bad math. 28 banners, and so that to me is like, I had one team that held twice, but we full cleared each other, for the most part, completely. And so it definitely makes me rethink, oh man, how am I going to do 3 sequential, more difficult rounds next time? Like, you're going to have 3 opponents, and the opponents that you're going to face are going to be as good as you, if not better, because they're going to be winning as well. And so, or losing. If I'm losing, I need to turn it around.
Yeah, I can see this getting really competitive. Kind of like you, my matchups were pretty dead even. My current one, my opponent has 6,000 more GP on me. He's at 4.3. I'm up 4.294. So we were just even. The only difference is his GP is a lot more top heavy, whereas I kind of gear up all my characters at least gear level 7, whatever. I got a lot of filler GP where his is very focused. So when I first did the inventory view, I'm like, well, this is going to suck because he had every strong character just maxed out. So I'm like, well, this is going to suck, but it looks like I'm going to win in 51 seconds. So we are, we each cleared a zone, and I had him down to 1 team, and I still got four full teams left in my top section. So I don't know if he just ran out of gas or ran out of interest or what. I don't know, but hey, a win's a win.
Yeah, I want to talk about your strategy a little bit later. That's pretty big because that's what we preach is like no GP bloat. Don't waste your GP. Focus on characters. But I think Grand Arena kind of changes that. So
yeah, it's kind of maybe talking about strategy a little too early here, but prior to this mode, our mindset has been PvP was arena. You get one team and you make it as good as possible, and you use that team until it's no longer viable. Then you move everything to another team. So you just constantly focus on this one A+ team. Where in this mode, I kind of think having 2 B teams could be more valuable than having one A+ team. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You may not get a clean win, but you can go back, do some mop up, and get a win.
And there's the end of it.
That's my 2 cents on it. But I liked it. 7 was more defenses than I thought was going to be in this mode, but I like it. It really forces us to stretch our roster out. Makes, like you said, make some tough calls. And so to me, it's just the best of all worlds. You're not tied to a payout hour. You're not fighting the same people all the time. You're not having to wait on your guild to clear out a section where you can play some more. You can play at your own pace. I like it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Sarah, what about you? What you think?
Yeah, as far as the first go, going through as like going
it's the
through
loudest keyboard in the history of
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was that close to the mic.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting for a first go, and man, my initial impression, it's going to be tough trying to fill full squads for this event and everything, and going through it. Like, I'm at the upper end of the filling 6 teams, so I'm at 3.9 GP, so really close to that 4 million GP, in which I'll have to go through and do 7 and 7, and man, those full teams, full squads are just killer. But the other thing I was thinking about is, like, they already said that they were looking at 3v3, and 3v3 would actually help as far as the required characters you would actually need, and you can start splitting up and actually making some factions. You can actually split into a full squad and a 3v3 squad very easily based on the characters that you have and actually be really good. And that kind of goes through and limits how many characters you need, but still has the same amount of defenses and everything within it. And also this first initial matchup in which I ran into on both of my accounts really is fleets really hurt people, at least in this exhibition, because both the characters both the guys I went up against pretty much almost spot on GP, but on my main account with the 3-9, the person did not have Treya, did not have Revan. They did have a Bastila team, CLS, JTR. They really didn't have a geared up Night Sister team. They didn't have a fully geared First Order team. But on all those teams, they had their pilots and crew members geared up. So their GP was a lot higher. And I'm like going through and I'm like, I went through, set my defense, and I'm like, well, I'm going to throw this in here. And if they put, like I put Trey on defense, I was like, if they throw Bastila on their defensive squad, they're pretty much done. I don't see how they're getting through my Treya. So it was kind of interesting with that one. And then my other account, it's a 3.5 GP, pretty much the same thing. They were very heavy on ships. They really only had Gear 12 CLS. They had like 2 teams that were Gear 12. That was it. So I went through, set a couple teams that were Gear 12 that I just had laying around that I just use on defense, and went through. They didn't even attempt to attack. The other account, they beat out my filler defense. That was it. So I'm more interested to see how it goes when we get into Season 1. We start seeing the 3v3. There should be a fleet battle in there too, because that could sway the balance for those guys that concentrate on their fleets. So definitely interesting. I like where they're going with it. I kind of agree with you, Stan, where 2 B+ teams could be more valuable than 1 A+ team when it comes to offense. But on defense, having that 1 A+ team that the opponent can't get through might be more beneficial than having 2 B+ teams that they can kind of just have a counter and walk through and get a couple, even if it's a 2-attack win.
So, tagging on to that point, my alternate account is 2 million galactic power, so it's much lower on the pay scale. I do have Revan, and I put Revan on defense, thinking I'm gonna totally win. I'll throw Revan on defense; it'll be great. Thinking it's like territory war, and I cleared 3 of his teams, and he cleared 3 of my teams, and he couldn't beat my Revan, and he couldn't beat my CLS. But I couldn't beat his crew, and I couldn't beat his Night Sisters because I just don't have the roster depth, and I just struggled with it. And he won in banners, and so he didn't even have to face my Revan. He just beat the crap out of me and walked around my Revan. And he literally did not even fight a single battle against Revan and CLS. He just beat the other team single shot, and he won through sheer banners. So that's where I go, we really need to think about, those A teams that we use. They can be ignored, and they just beat up the 4 other teams with perfect wins. And as long as you don't have the roster depth to kill his entire thing, if you can only kill an equal number, then you're struggling. And so I think there's a lot of strategy that is going to go into this.
So the best thing you could do is have an underestimated B team that they waste an A team on.
That's exactly how I won my main. I had a Rex Wampa on defense, and nobody really expects Rex Wampa on defense, and it held for 2 wins. That's the only reason I won.
Yeah,
it was the only thing that held for 2 teams, or for 2 wins.
So actually, let's go into that. Kind of fits right into it right now. Let's go over what our strategies were for these matchups. And then we can get into kind of what we learned and kind of go through what we're thinking in future matchups. So, I mean, I'll go first as far as what and how I did my defense and everything. Was basically, I looked at it and looked at his roster and was like, he has CLS, JTR, Bastila, and that was really it. And, of course, he ended up putting all three of those teams on defense. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that definitely worked out for me with the way I set the defense. So looking at his roster, I went through and set a Bounty Hunter team in one zone. And then at the bottom, I went through and put actually Night Sisters. And, I mean, we found some oddball lineups in Territory Wars. And actually, a Night Sister team with a General Kenobi in it just goes through and really messes up a lot of what people think of your traditional counters. And looking at this guy's roster and his guild, I was like, well, I don't think he's really seeing these really oddball team and finesse teams. So that was my strategy, going through putting two pretty strong defensive teams and splitting them. That way, if he goes through and he beats me all my other teams, he's not going to clear a zone because there's two strong teams in there. And that actually really did happen. So he wasn't able to beat my Night Sisters with General Kenobi. I put my Phoenix squad in there, which they have 3 Zetas on them. He attacked that, couldn't beat that. I did my Ewoks just kind of as filler. He did beat them. And then my Bounty Hunters. I actually put my Bounty Hunters in there with Nest. So he went through and did 2 battles against them and was able to clear everybody but Dengar and Nest. Didn't even attempt to attack my Bastila team. And then I threw a old school droid team in there that he cleared, which I really just did for filler because I wanted to make sure I cleared him on offense. And I think I would have cleared him on offense. I messed up with my JTR squad. And I was like, oh, I'll try to take out this team with JTR and then get a cleaner win down below with someone else against his JTR. And, of course, I lost my JTR squad. And because of that, I was behind the 8 ball with my counters and just did not have enough to take out his JTR squad. He had a pretty fast BB-8 in there. That's the only reason, and that was the only team I didn't clear of his.
Yeah, sound like a good matchup.
Yeah.
My strategy was kind of similar. I for my top zone, I put a Kira, Zalbar, L3, Nest, and Big Z. Had 2 battles, didn't make a dent in that. I put my Phoenix. Of course, I've got a Zeta on Kanan and Sabine. 2 battles, took out Hera. I put my Ewoks in as filler. Again, didn't even try that. I think he ran out of steam. And in my first order, he didn't touch it. And for my bottom zone that he did clear, I put, again, a droid team, HK lead with Jawas, 1 shot, 1 kill on them. So I expected. My Night Sisters were kind of my MVPs this time. I actually messed up and put Mother Talzin in lead instead of my Asajj, like I normally do, but I had her lead, Daka, Asajj, Zombie, and Kenobi, and they took 4 defenses, so that paid off pretty well. And my Bounty Hunters survived 2. Looking at his... Oh, good.
I'm having a what the heck moment is Asajj or Daka's lead. Like, how did your Daka do that? Go ahead, continue.
Did I say Daka lead? I meant Mother Talzin lead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was like, what does Daka lead do that defend that much?
Oh, if you don't know.
That 50% defense. Oh my god.
Right, yeah.
Try to get through Kenobi now.
Kind of going back and looking at the roster again, kind of a big oversight. He doesn't look like he had Revan. If he did, he kept it on offense. So he set a Bastila team for defense, which I believe I used my Treya to get through that. He had straight Night Sisters up, so I used my troopers to get through them. Actually, I'll take that back. I used CLS with Chase with Han to get through them.
You have General Kenobi in there? Or you just have straight... Oh, you know, you said straight Night Sisters. I went up against straight Night Sisters, too, but he had them all at... His zombie was only, like, gear 9, and he had someone else at gear 9, so I was able to just take troopers and just blast through them and just have never-ending turn meter. I don't even think they went once.
No, his zombie was gear 12, so I wasn't going to use troopers on him. He had Phoenix, which I used Wampa, Vader against them. It was no contest. And then his bounty hunters, I used JTR with Old Ben. You get ability block on Bosk, keep him blocked, and that shuts that team down. So that was my battle.
Yeah. What was your strategy there, Ethan, as far as who you put on defense?
I'm gonna plug my stream again because I live streamed my offense and recorded it and put it on YouTube. So and talked about my strategies of what I use there. So I intend on doing that in the future, and I recommend if anybody wants to check it out. I talk about strategies and counters and stuff like that. I think it's really cool compared to like Territory War, where I'm sitting around waiting for my guild to help clear a Treya wall or a Revan wall or something like that. I can talk about counters, and I can go through each team and counter them. So on defense, I had to play 6 teams. I played some traditional Territory War defense teams, First Order, Bounty Hunters.
Did you do straight First Order, or did you put a Zeta Bastila, or Zeta Barris, sorry?
No, I did straight First Order. I have a very so First Order, you mod First Order Officer or Kylo, old school Kylo for speed. Both of those give a bunch of turn meter out, and so I just have a very fast First Order Officer. That being said, if you have a fast Poe, or if you're using Rey or a couple other things like Ewoks, like we were mentioning, you can still win. It doesn't matter how fast the First Order is; they just don't go fast enough. So. That team got one shot. I used a traditional bounty hunter team using Jango, Greedo, Dengar, Boba, and then of course Bosk lead, Zeta Bosk lead. That team got one shot. Probably due to a trooper lead or a Rey lead. I don't know what he used. I used a traditional Emperor lead with Empire, so Emperor, Vader, Shore, TIE Fighter pilot Tarkin. Because I wanted to save my Treya, but I still have a Zeta Emperor that I want to use. So, and then I dropped my Revan, who got one shot, presumably by his Revan. My Revan team is really, really fast, so I'm impressed that he beat it. But hey, I ran a Rex Wampa team, which I'm not going to talk about the intricacies of that team. It was only 78,000 power, and it like I said, it survived. It's got some secret tricks that we're working on inside. That of course I'll share with you guys, but I can't share with everybody yet. We're seeing some success with this in Territory War. People just Rex lead is always a cornerstone lead. Like you can always go back to it. It's a non-Zeta lead. Everybody can get it. It defeats a lot of those crit damage teams. And Wampa just feeds off all that extra turn meter and smashes face. So I put him on defense, and that was the winning grace of my team. And then I have a pretty junky Phoenix team with the Zeta Kanan that didn't survive very long. So that's okay. Yeah, I saved a lot for offense, and like I said, I live streamed it, so I played my counters right for Bosk. He had a Rogue One on defense. He had a Zeta Bastila on defense. But his Bastila was all the non-Revan Jedi, so like he saved his Revan team and then put a Zeta Bastila on defense. He had a Zeta Emperor, no Treya. He had a fully decked out quad Zeta Ewok team that I had to figure out how to beat.
He's gonna be difficult here in about a week with C-3PO.
Yeah. Right.
And then he had a traditional, really, really, really strong Night Sister team, but he did not run any of those tips and tricks like you guys were talking about. Like he did not run a Kenobi or a Nest or anything like that. So my troopers struggled a little bit with it, but they, just kill zombie a lot, and then eventually you win because you kill zombie and you get a bunch of turn meters. So it ended up working out. Like I said, I live streamed all of it, so it was really fun, and I look forward to doing that in the future.
Yeah, it sounds like we all took advantage of that, in which everybody we all commented about it. We go through, and people that are going through that are in upper end guilds that do territory wars, or you're actually listening to streams and podcasts and YouTube videos. YouTube videos might not be as much because they don't talk about the territory wars battles, but going up against some of these guys and actually noticing their guild, in which you look at them and you're like, okay, your guild GP is down pretty far, or they just don't have the roster for it. You can kind of look at it and you'll be like, yeah, I bet you haven't seen a Night Sister team with Nest, a Night Sister team with General Kenobi, because really, you need really maxed out troopers, and the troopers have to be modded correctly, and like you have to have range trooper in there to actually be able to get through some of those teams. And if you don't have the right trooper makeup, it does not work. Like a full Night Sister team, I could just plug and play any trooper in there if there's a weak one and just keep getting constant turn meter. And if they aren't used to seeing that, it is going to be a pain. Same with bounty hunters. If they aren't used to seeing Nest in there, or Barris or B2 with them, it throws everybody off.
Yeah, I had a Gear 8 Stormtrooper that I ran with my my troopers, and they still survived. Like, he tanked like a champ. Go Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but you wouldn't have been able to do that team. Like, if they had a General Kenobi or Nest in there, that completely changes that. And people are so used to seeing, oh, Night Sisters. Okay, that means troopers. And then they throw troopers in there and like, wait, why am I attacking General Kenobi? How do I get to Zombie? How do I get to Daka? Oh, look, I killed General Kenobi. All right, let me go after Daka now. Oh, wait, Daka just revived General Kenobi. Now I'm back underneath General Kenobi. It's just a mess for people that haven't run into that team before, and figuring out how to counter it. But yeah, so let's get into Stan. Do you want to go over the mass, and then we can kind of go into some general strategies as far as before we lock into the next Grand Arena, and then kind of go over some potential teams for both offense, defense, and the potential for a 3v3 team makeup out of them.
Yeah, so the math was out there, and there for a while there was some scuttlebutt on the Discords that if you didn't set defense or didn't set certain characters, you could kind of cheese a win out of it. But I don't think that panned out. So basically, you get 90 points for setting defense. You get 15 points for an offensive win. It's kind of baseline. If it's your first try, you get an additional 30. If it's your second try, you get an additional 10. And then you get all these bonus points for surviving units up to 5, health unit, or for any active one, full health, full protections, a point each. And then unused slot, you get 4 points. And then the zone, you get 120 points plus 30 points per defensive slot you were required to put. So, I mean, math works out. You're going to try to get as much healthy units to the end of the fight as you can. If you're kind of going into the strategies, so that does make you look at characters that can regenerate protection and regenerate health, kind of speed them to go right before the end of the match so you finish with full health.
Yeah, I did that with my troopers. I went through and started doing basics when I just had Zombie and I think Asajj left. I was just doing basics to take them out, trying to regenerate some protection to get that last couple little protection bonuses, because I think they only had one attack against them.
I did the same with my BB-8. Waited for an Illuminated Destiny and then finished them off with my Array team so that everybody was full health, full protection. Got my full 60 banners.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely worth going through. When I was looking at this originally, I did not see that little plus 30 per defensive slot when you conquer a zone. And that plus 30 per defensive slot is actually what bumps it up to not be possible to actually go through and win without setting defense. Now,
right.
Let's get into some strategies, because, man, the amount of teams needed kind of, I know it threw Stan and I off, because we were saying 4 or 5 at that 4 million GP, and kind of added on to that, which, I mean, I'm not mad about or upset about. It kind of just caught me off guard, and I wasn't quite expecting it. So, my first thought is, how many people are going to be doing roster manipulation now? So, what I mean by that is, do you think taking off mods off of unused characters is a good or bad idea, including off crew members? If you aren't using their ships, taking mods off them.
I will never do this. Because the thing is, you're in the same boat as your opponent. If you have to play 6 defenses, they have to play 6 defenses. If you bump up and have to play 7, guess what? Your opponent has to play 7 as well. They are in the same predicament you are. It's still going to be about a smarter use of your existing roster. There could be some edge cases where you get match made up with somebody because of this and you have an advantage of it, but I don't see it.
What do you think, Ethan?
I agree. I think mod manipulation. I think that the crew members would have the biggest impact, and if you're sitting really on the 4 million, Sparrow and I are right on that 4 million cusp. We're about to be 4 million GP. As soon as we do, we're gonna need another team. So maybe it would be in our interest to kind of game the system a little bit. But I really think that, like Stan was saying, even if we did that, if we went through all of that work, then we're going to face somebody who's equal power, and we're going to have 6, but we're going to have a bunch of unmodded characters that we can't use. So if we really need them, and it comes down to it, we won't have them. And so I think that I think they designed a pretty balanced system in this, and you know, it didn't work the first time around, but I think that ultimately it's going to kind of stand the test of time. I'm a little bit worried that our galactic power is bloated a little bit by how much time I've invested in fleets. So I really want to see some fleets in the battles. But even if I don't, then I'm not going to go through and unmod things. I need it for too many other events. I'm not going to waste my time on that.
I definitely think fleet is going to be in it at some point. I just think they were just doing an exhibition, throwing off just a very basic vanilla version of the Grand Arena. So I'm expecting fleet, and I'm expecting 3v3 next time it comes around. But
yeah, I'm looking forward to 3v3 because besides the theory crafting and the strategy behind the 3v3, it definitely allows me to save more of my roster for the next time around.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point too. If there was a set number of offense teams we had to put out there, okay, you get 7 offensive teams and that is it. Okay, maybe there's a case for this manipulation thing, but the fact that you can use your entire roster for mop-up if you need to, you may want some mods on those characters.
Yeah,
exactly.
The only thing I could see benefiting this is kind of like in Ethan's and I's case right now, when you're really close to that 4 million GP cutoff, or say that 5 to 6 range. I think that cutoff is 2.5, 2.7, somewhere right in there.
Yeah.
That you could go through and take off mods, stay just below 4 million or just below that 2.7 million GP for that last Grand Arena event. You're going through, you get one last little hurrah within that GP bracket, because you're going to be bumping up above that. It's very hard to keep your roster down below there when you're balancing that out. So,
yeah, but I think kind of to that point is okay, if it was broken, if the system was completely broken and I'm 4 million galactic power facing a 5 million galactic power player, then it's going to hurt. But if it seems I faced another player with a Revan, and in the first broken, the first initial mashup that didn't work, I also faced a player with a Revan. So it seems like the matchmaking is pretty lined up, that if I'm breaking my galactic power, bringing it down just to face a weaker opponent, he's going to be a full strength opponent at full roster build, and I'm just going to be I'm going to hurt myself, especially if I still need to play 6 defensive teams. That's not easy to do for me. So
yeah, I could see the benefit of it, but it's only that benefit is only going to last one Grand Arena round. As soon as you get done with that round, you're pretty much, it's not worth it. You might as well just put everything back on and go and that's just someone that has a lot of time on their hands to be able to go through and manipulate it like that. It's not... Yes, there's going to be ways to game the system with this. Is it going to last long? No, because naturally their GP is going to have to grow in order to keep competing by building more teams and gearing up teams that are going to naturally push them up over that GP threshold. That, and remember, we're just following the exhibition match too. So as soon as you go through, get done with this exhibition, when we're actually in a first season, you're going to be progressing on to people that have won also. So as you go through, it's going to get harder and harder as you progress, because that roster you're going up against is going to be stronger and stronger. Or the player, I should say, is better and better.
Right, and plus we haven't seen the full reward payout table too. It may be worth bumping up to the next.
Yes, that is true.
The next bracket and taking a loss versus first place in the lower bracket.
Yep.
Oh, good call. Yeah, like if GP actually factors into reward, I didn't think of that.
Yep, because right now it was just flat, so that will definitely be interesting. So that was my first thought with roster manipulation, which we kind of all seemed like it's not really beneficial. Yeah, you probably could leave some lower characters off. I prefer gearing everybody up to at least gear 7 and level 85, which is going to inflate mine a little bit, but I don't take them past that. So everybody else, I don't stop at gear 10, gear 11. I take them right to gear 12, which seems to be really helping me out so far within the matchmaking. My second thought is, which we kind of talked about a little bit, what do you set on defense? Do you go strong defense? Do you go weak defense? Do you go through a mix, put one or two strong teams in there? Do you keep them all in one zone? Do you split them? Or do you just stay for offense? Go for clean wins.
I kind of go for a mix. I put at least one super strong team in each zone to try to prevent a full clear. I'll put probably one weak team somewhere just to give me more offense. Again, try to make a team that they'll underestimate and possibly have to do a second round win on. The rest, again, there's so many counters and hard counters. It really depends on looking at their roster and seeing where their weak spots are at, placing teams that you don't think they're going to be able to win against. And again, throwing some wild cards out there. You can do Rev and Counter on YouTube and find 1,000 hits, whereas a Rex Wampa and maybe some other lesser known characters, you're not going to find an easy button for that. You're going to have to know the mechanics and figure it out yourself. And a lot of players, frankly, aren't going to put that much time and effort into it. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably more engaged than 90% of the player base out there.
Which is going to help you get better rewards in Grand Arena, because you know a lot of these mechanics, or you're able to go on Discord and engage with people to be able to figure out a counter or build a team to be able to counter something and get better rewards because you're engaged. What do you think, Ethan?
Right.
Go strong,
Yeah.
Strong defense, weak, mix. Do you split the defense?
I'm trying to think of the entire audience, because the 1 million Galactic Power players, they got 4 defensive teams that they need to put, and then they need to win 4, and that they're not sitting on 8 teams. They're not sitting on 8 well-modded, well-built teams. And so it's really, I don't know, it kind of goes back to Stan's point of those strong B teams. We're not talking about Gear 12. We're talking about Gear 8, Gear 9 that work together, synergize. And then I think on defense, it's about, tricks, like you were saying about with Night Sisters, and coming up with, I don't want to call them oddball teams, but just that normal synergistic team that has that one variation that makes it not rock, paper, scissors,
I go through and call them not so much oddball teams, but by taking a traditional team, like how you were saying First Order, my first thought is Xeris in there? Because that takes a traditional counter and kind of messes with that traditional counter. Same way with the Night Sisters, same way with Bounty Hunters. Adding that team just messes with that traditional counter that most people think of.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that CG has done an amazing job was kind of flesh out through territory wars and through everything is that there's these teams with synergy, and we want to run these teams with synergy. And it kind of started way back with the whole Chirrut Bays or the Bigs and Wedge or those pairings, and then it kind of worked into those full synergistic teams, and we started to see some of that. But at this point, we really have some fully based, fully fledged 5v5 teams that you can use, and X beats Y and Y beats Z, and we can roll with it. And as soon as you throw Nest on an X team, nobody knows what to do with it. And so you really need to start thinking about those things. And I think that that's where, this kind of community outreach and this kind of help really helps. So I think that traditionally, as Grand Arena goes, a balanced defense and a balanced offense with a roster analysis of the enemy team, like looking at what they could beat and what you could easily beat on their teams would be best. Because if you're looking at an opponent with a really strong Treya, you need to save a Treya defeat team. You need to save a Treya killer to beat him up. And then if he puts Treya on offense, then you just enjoy the ride kind of thing. You just get to walk through the rest of his teams. And so I think that's a good thing for the community, and I think that's a good thing for the game. But I also think it's a great thing for our guilds. Is like all of our players are now going to get better at territory wars. They're going to get better at beating and analyzing those teams, and I think that's really fun.
Yeah, not so much beating and analyzing, but they're going through and thinking about the counters. They're actually going through. They have to build the counters for these teams on their own. So they aren't going to go through, I can just kind of go through and build my own thing. The rest of my guilds can take out these walls, and I don't have to worry about attacking them. It's not going to fly anymore because they're going to run into them in the Grand Arena, which I do like.
Yeah. That's another thing I like about this is this really frees up players to farm more teams that they just want to play with. Whereas, if you say whatever reason, I want to build a separatist team. I want my bugs out there with Count Dooku and Poggle and just going to town. I'm not getting anywhere in Arena, right? I'm not going to get anywhere on Territory Wars because my guild leader is going to kick me out as soon as I try to place that on defense. But in this, man, play what you want to play. If that team makes you happy, you can throw that out there and get some use out of it. So I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think long term for the game, like you guys were talking about months ago, like this PvP based content is not. It doesn't need game balancing. It'll balance itself. We will all just enjoy it for months to come, kind of thing. I think the hard part for all of us is finding that sweet spot about like what teams I want to farm. I want to get all these teams up to do amazing in Grand Arena, but at the same time, I got to do my Ewoks because C-3PO is coming. Right, yeah. So.
Yeah, the thing with going through, like we were saying, naturally it's going to game balances because they did say the matchmaking's going to go through off win-loss record. So the longer the Grand Arena goes, the better the matchmaking's going to get, where you might get overwhelmed for one or two Grand Arenas, and then it's going to jump you back down where your win-loss record's going to match more of the players and balance out. So naturally it's going to balance over time, which it's a great setup. I like it, and it's going to make you also build teams. As you get up there and experience better players, you could see whether you need to work on modding teams based on what you just saw and what made it so difficult for you. Whether you didn't have a counter, it's like, oh man, I really need to build a counter for that character because there's no way I can get around them. So, yeah, a lot of great things going on with the Grand Arena, I think. So, the next thing I wanted to do is kind of like going through what I did is kind of going through in my head of, man, we have we need a lot of teams. Ethan and I, 6 teams and 6 teams, offense, defense. Dan is 7 and 7, so 14 potential teams. And like I've talked about, 3v3 is coming into this mode. So I list these teams. I want to know, Are they going to be better for offense, defense, 3v3 potential, or either or, depending on the team or the person you're going up against? The first one I have is the Kira L3 Vandor Chewbacca, and then the next two are kind of a plug and play depending on what you're looking at.
So you're saying these teams are 3v3 potential, or whether or not they're defense or offense?
Whether you think they're better on offense, defense to start off with, and then if they have any 3v3 potential.
Gotcha. So for Kira L3, Vandor, and fill in the blanks if it's a 5v5 team, I definitely feel like if you feel good about the team, if you feel comfortable, I think for all of these teams, if you feel confident that you can play it well, play it on offense. If you are a little bit, it's a good team, but you don't really know how to use it, that's probably a good defensive team for you. I think Kira has a lot of tricks with Vandor, Chewie, that they can pump out. I think that actually the trick to the L3 Vandor Chewie team on a 3v3 team is to drop Kira, run no leader, and put Zalbar in there. And have L3 Zalbar and Vandor Chewie. And it's two tanks that are extremely hard to kill because they're stacking defense, and Vandor Chewie who just resurrects them constantly. Right. So you don't even need a leader. Just try and kill somebody. Good luck kind of thing. So on a 3v3 team, that would be an extremely hard to kill team because you would need to specifically bring in ability blocking and buff immunity tunes to stop that. And specific tunes like that they exist, but nobody has them really powered up and nobody wants to use them in that way. And so it's just, you don't even need a leader in a 3v3 team because the leadership ability is supposed to affect all five. If you have a team that just works well, I think that team would just be ugly.
Yeah. So Stan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Ethan there. If you know how to use the team and you know what they're a hard counter against, save them for offense. If you've done your recon, you think that you know your opponent's going to put a first order out there, so you're going to use this team for that, Night Sisters, etc. If you're not too sure, put them on defense. I personally prefer to put mine on defense. It just seems like they never got a lot of traction in the game, and people still don't know how to handle these teams. So they do well on defense, in my experience.
Y'all have been eating waffles for dinner there. Jeez. Yeah, this Kira team, I definitely lean more towards defense because, like you said, Stan, people haven't figured out this team yet, and there's just not a lot of them built. And I think that's mainly because when they became farmable, Revan hit and kind of pulled everybody from farming them. Bounty hunters also pulled people from this team, so they just haven't seen a lot of it, and it does require a specific kill order, and you have to know how to defeat that team, which always seems like a good defensive squad because you can count on what the person needs to be able to beat the team and pretty much wipe out a potential counter that they're going to have to use. The next team I have on here is a Traya team.
God, if once 3v3 drops, I think teams like this are just going to be ugly. I don't know how to beat a Traya team with three tunes. The
3v3 potential that I have is basically the Triumphant. You Traya, Darth Zion, Darth Nihilus. Period.
I think Traya as a defensive team is not the best. I think that we used it in Territory War a lot, and the reason we used it is because it was Traya and it was the new most powerful tune, and a lot of people don't know how to use it. That being said, the AI doesn't play Traya or Nihilus very smart at all.
Well, I think also the start of Territory Wars, when you saw the Traya walls, was also because there weren't a lot of counters yet. The only way to counter Traya was another Traya team or like that, a specifically modded team like the Danger Zone team and characters like that. But now Bastila came out, that's a counter. Revan's a counter. So
don't knock my Magma Trooper.
Oh yeah, the Magma Trooper. Yes, the Magma Trooper is another one. But there were specifically modded teams. Like you had to go through, have a specific character. You had to have Magma Trooper and Thrawn. and you had to pretty much had Death Trooper in that team also.
Yep.
And you had to mod them correctly to be able to get through it. And that's why Traya was so good on defense, because it was such a unique team that needed to be able to beat it. But now that there's more counters come out, it changed the game up. But yeah, I agree. It's definitely more of an offensive team, at least for the time being. This may change when it goes to 3v3. I could see them being a very good, a lot of potential for defense with 3v3. What do you think, Stan?
Oh yeah, I like using my Traya on offense, but yeah, 3v3. I'd still probably just keep him on offense. There's too many counters for him.
Yeah. All right, that Traya leads right into Revan. Offense, defense, first.
Again, I like him on offense. He's just so flexible. He can take out pretty much anybody. You know, when they absolutely had to be just killed, send in Revan.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I think to the same exact point that we were talking about with Traya is like nobody really knows how to beat Revan right now. Like they kind of know. They need perfectly modded Traya teams and all that kind of stuff. So I think the best defense as we go down this entire list is a team that people don't know how to deal with correctly. Because if they can one-shot any team, then they just one-shot it and then it's over with. And so then the defense didn't do its job. If the defense holds for multiple rounds, or if the defense holds for if the defense even holds just one round, then the dreaded turn meter is preloaded, and then the game changes, right?
Yeah, let's talk about preloading turn meter real quick. I forgot to mention that on mine. That is the benefit of not playing with a guild, that you always have somebody that preloads turn meter, and I'm always in chat talking about it. But what did I do in my own Grand Arena battles? I preloaded turn meter like crazy. And I could not beat their first order team once it got going. I spent my whole roster on them. They had 10 defense wins simply because I loaded turn meter like an idiot. So any team like that, yeah, just back out the game, take the timeout, and try again with somebody else. On the Revan thing, like you mentioned though, Revan's easy to go around. You just don't engage with him, and you've spent one of your guaranteed wins on somebody that may not even be engaged.
So let's put it this way, as far as what my thought as far as Revan. If you and your opponent have Revan, I would say save Revan for offense. If you're going up against someone who does not have Revan, I would place him on defense.
Yeah.
Is the way I would go through, because if you place him on defense, you almost guarantee, if you're seeing a Traya on the opposing side, you go, well, yep, they aren't clearing that zone. So that's the way I look at it.
I am a case example of the opposite of that. I placed Revan on defense on my ult, and he got ignored.
you ran out of teams.
I could not win. Yeah.
The thing
is, like, for all players involved, like players 2 million, 2.5 million, 2.6 million, 2.8 million, they're definitely doing a team analysis. We're all doing a team analysis, and I think that's where, if you have a Gear 12 team that you've invested heavily in, maybe not on defense, right? Maybe on defense, maybe create that impenetrable wall, but you got to be able to beat, in my case, 6. I have to be able to, if I put Revan on defense, I have to be able to beat 6 of whatever he has on defense. Because
mm-hmm.
Otherwise he wins, because even if he ignores Revan, he can go around everything else.
Yeah.
All right. That is what's so cool about this mode, is there's no right answer. I mean, there's no thing we can just say, hey, if you put this here, you're going to win 100% of the time. This is not how this game's going to end up working.
Yeah. So
this is really cool.
Yeah. Let's keep this moving. As far as, and without getting into specifics, I think there's definitely potential for a 3v3 or a 3-person squad with Revan. There's a lot of flexibility within the Jedi, and I think a 3-person Revan team would work out very well. Now, on to bounty hunters. Offense, defense? What do you think?
Defense, yeah.
And then 3v3 potential. Yes, no?
Of course. Contracts.
Yes. My thought was the same thing. Bounty hunters are probably right next to Treya. Was my second team that I immediately thought for 3v3 potential, because you go through and you have 2 really good leads of Bosk and Django. You put Bosk as a 3v3 defensive squad, and then you have Django that you can also use as a 3-person offensive squad or even a full squad with his leadership ability.
Boba's leader is still really good.
Yes.
Zam's leader is really good against Night Sisters. There's a lot of all of them have a lead, so
yeah, there's a lot of flexibility with bounty hunters. Their 3v3 potential and their mix and match abilities based on the opponent you're going up against seems really cool, and that faction itself has a lot of potential, in which is definitely one of the teams which I wanted to get into after I built my Scoundrel team, but Ewoks got in the way because of the C-3PO, but I want to get back to gearing more of my bounty hunters because of that potential. So the next faction I have is First Order.
Yeah, pretty much defense. Keep in mind, though, you don't have the traditional territory war bonuses that we've had for the past ever. So your First Order may not perform as well as you're used to on defense.
Mm-hmm. Ethan, you agree?
I agree. More to the point that I placed them on territory war defense for so long that I don't really know how to use them.
Right.
What do they do? I know what the characters do, but I don't know how they synergize exactly. I just know they hold really well on defense, so I'm going to keep putting them on defense.
And
there's one of those, especially with Executioner, if you get him rolled up and going, he will just take out weak team after weak team after weak team.
Yeah, very much so. This is actually the first faction in which currently I do not see 3v3 potential for them, in the sense that if there's no way to split them up currently and actually have 2 viable teams, whether it's 3v3 or when I say potential, I'm thinking of splitting the team into a 3-person team and then another squad of 5 and having them very viable. I don't see that possible within the First Order currently.
I think a Xylo or Kylo Ren a mask with a old school Kylo and maybe either Executioner or Stormtrooper, I could see working out pretty well.
It doesn't leave another team behind it then. With what's left over for First Order, I don't see that as a viable team running.
You're talking about Phasma's got a lead.
and no damage behind her.
Unless we get a
First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter.
Shh, don't tell anybody, but the Geonosians work really well under Phasma.
Okay.
I think I just told everybody, but
yeah. Okay.
All them called assists for them pretty substantial damage.
So I guess that could be a mix and match as a cleanup team for a 5v5. So yeah, I guess all right. I guess I can see their first or 3v3 potential then. Night Sisters.
That's kind of like the Revan team to me. That's going to depend on the opponent. More than likely, you're going to see them on defense, because I think a lot of people are just used to placing them there, and it's going to force you to burn a 18 to get rid of them, or at the worst, mirror match. I just like the flexibility of Night Sisters. Again, that's almost a guaranteed win.
Yeah,
I save them for offense, although, as we've described earlier in the stream, they can be one of those trick teams that when you put them on defense, they can really, really screw with your opponent.
Right.
And also I see the 3v3 potential with this squad by going through and splitting up Asajj and Mother Talzin into 2 different teams. It will come back and benefit people that have Zetas on both of their leadership abilities by doing that.
I agree 100%.
Now, Phoenix.
I already break them up.
You already break them up? Well, do you break them up? You break them up to put Ezra into a Jedi squad, don't you?
Chopper's in my race squad as well, so
Okay.
I don't even run a traditional Phoenix anymore.
Okay. So, yeah, I see their only potential is basically being... I have a lot of Zetas on mine, so I put them on defense. Because, once again, if you go through and you aren't used to... I call it one of those trick teams because you don't see a lot of Phoenix teams all Zetaed out.
Yeah, and their synergy is just, it's unparalleled. It's one of the best synergies in the game, so...
Yeah. You agree, Stan?
Yeah. I agree. I put them on defense and try to have my opponent underestimate them.
Yeah. And I don't see any really... I could see them being used in a 3v3 squad if you're, like, Ethan, like you said. You go through and use Ezra and Jedi and then Chopper in a JTR squad, you're left with Hera, Kanan, and Zeb.
Nah, Sabine. Nobody likes Zeb.
All right, fine. You can go
Poor
through.
Zeb.
I know. Jeez, just bashing Zeb. But there's potential to go through as, like, I think of it more of as a 3v3 cleanup squad if you're doing it that way. Droids.
Can't say I ever invested in them.
I like them. They're a good offense team. They do some work on cleanup. This particular one, I just needed a filler team for defense, but I would probably more likely save them for offense.
Yeah, currently I just have them as a filler squad for defense or a cleanup squad or filler squad for defense, cleanup squad for offense until we get General Grievous or another, maybe C-3PO makes them actually viable. But
I think they will become a good team. I think T3 is a really good droid. Whatever they do with Grievous will bring them back into the meta more. There's a lot.
HK rework.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential there. I think they will end up being a viable team.
Yeah, but in their current form, a pure droid squad just doesn't quite cut it. It's more of a filler squad. Ewoks.
Offense.
Yep.
All right. I completely agree. Offense. I mean, I could see them. I used them as filler squad just because I needed other stuff saved for offense, and I had them getting geared. So why not put them there?
Yeah.
Bastila.
Weaker Ewoks, I would say defense. Just again, you're hoping your opponent will overestimate and not get a clean win. But once they're powered up, yeah, it could be a strong counter.
Yeah. What about Bastila?
I think defense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially her leadership gives any tanks on the team automatic taunt at the very beginning of the battle, which gives players like Mace, who does not have a taunt, and we've all semi-invested in, instantly start with a taunt, which kind of messes with the opponent's strategy if they forget about that. Another example is like Kanan starts with a taunt. There's a couple other Jedi tanks that are not traditionally considered taunters that instantly start with a taunt, including our new girl Juhani starts with her taunt under a Bastila lead, which is really impressive considering how her mechanics work for taunt and her 4-turn taunt.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely would be a throw off.
And you're going to have to burn an A-team to get through that.
Yep. The only way I actually see her... I agree, defense is probably the best spot for her. I could see her being used on offense for a 3v3 squad. For running up if you're going 3v3 and someone places Traya on defense. You probably need a Bastila team just to go through and try to counter all the debuffs on the Traya team. To be able to go through her 3v3. Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was going to say, yeah. I haven't thought enough about theory crafting 3v3 to say, like, oh, yeah, this team. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's some like
I don't
teams-
even know how I would beat Atreya with 3v3. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, there's like some I thought about initially, but there's other teams that I've thought about, and I'm like, man, if there's some oddball teams that they could throw in that would make these teams very difficult. Zeta Maul.
Yeah, I think defense. I think he's going to end up making a comeback. I know I'm eyeing a Sith B team very heavily with Zeta Maul, Zeta Savage. I've got a Zeta. Drawing a blank here.
Count Dooku?
No, not Dooku.
Great. Or
Savage?
No. Oh my God! I'm turning in my Star Wars card.
Who else has a Zeta on the set?
he's thinking Sidious.
Yes, City.
Oh.
Yeah, man.
I was waiting for him to get there.
He could help me out.
It did not
I'll have to
happen.
be drowned here. But yeah, Savage, Sidious, Zeta Maul. I think that'd be a strong defense. Throw in, Sith Trooper, Sith Assassin.
Yeah, I threw this team in here mainly thinking exactly what you said, a Sith B team. Everybody has a Traya team. It seems like the way they want this depth going and the amount of teams you need, you're going to need a second Sith team, a second Bounty Hunter team, a second Rebels team. So, yeah.
Right, and the beauty with that is, the strong counter was Rex, and a lot of people are placing him on defense, or CLS, which is a very useful team somewhere else. So they may be taking one for the team to get rid of one of your opponent's offense teams.
Yeah. You agree there, Ethan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Zeta Maul is still one of those, like, unsung Zetas, right? Like,
yeah, you just forget how good it is.
Yeah. Especially, like, the known counters exist, like XYZ works against Zeta Maul, but when you burn through those, then what do you got left?
The only real counter for Zeta Maul is burning and R2, and you have R2 and Django, and that's it.
Or a B2, or a Dengar.
Yeah.
Don't forget about B2 and Dengar. Dengar says don't stealth, so as long as you save your Dengar, he can make nobody stealth.
Yeah. So, Imperial Troopers.
I love to save them for offense. That being said, nobody knows how to really deal with them on defense when they face them. They're like, what do I do? What team do I use? So they usually end up burning an A team, like Stan was saying. Like, they don't, like, nobody faces troopers, really. What do we use against troopers? I guess I blow a ray. Because if they don't, then they get steamrolled by a bunch of turn meter.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I was leaning toward offense as well, but probably the state of my roster now, I'd get probably more mileage out of troopers on defense than I would, say, my droids. Particularly because a lot of people aren't going to use the pure Night Sister team anymore, and if they are, they're zombies geared up to where you can't use that old trick without really putting a lot of effort into your troopers, which I have not.
Yeah. Next team I have is a Empire team, whether that's a Director Krennic lead, a Palpatine lead, Vader. What do you think?
It's for me, it's mostly a cleanup team.
So offense.
Yeah.
I ran Emperor on defense. If it's Thrawn or Tarkin, it's an offensive team if they're leading. Vader, I have a Zeta Vader lead, and I don't think I've ever used it since Rancor. Like,
along with many other people.
I used him against Phoenix. Vader Wampa, pretty much an anti-Phoenix team.
Yeah. I think Wampa's just anti-rebel.
Yeah, he's anti-everything.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I don't know if anybody invested in Krennic, but it doesn't really pan out the way you want it to. So,
yep. I think he could have a comeback in 3v3. There's potential for him, just with his nuances. Next team I have, a Wigs team. Defense, of course, right?
Yeah, if you want to lose.
I faced a defensive Wigs, and I could not beat it because I had already expended the majority of my roster, and I didn't know what to. He had a CLS team, separate. So I beat the CLS team, and then he had an Akbar Wiggs. And he put Han Solo on that team, and I didn't know what to roll with it. Like, how do you?
Did he have Stormtrooper Han in there also?
No, he had Rolo, and it was just all DPS. It was just a whole bunch of damage and turn meter, and I didn't know what to do with it. So
they ran a new school combo with that. Usually, instead of Rolo, it would be either ST Han or Lando.
Yep, the good old Danger Zone. Yeah.
Old, not even before Danger Zone. That is an old school Wigs team there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All I know is I sent some. I mean, I didn't have my amazing teams left, but I sent some halfway decent teams in there. And as soon as Biggs let loose, because Biggs gets so much turn meter, like every time he gets hit and crit, he just goes, "Oh, it's my turn. Oh, it's my turn. Oh, it's my turn. Here's Wigs again." You're just like, dang.
That is a team that was one of the original metas when Wigs came out, and the only thing that stopped that team was it was Short Trooper, the auto taunt. That is what the auto taunt came in for, was actually soaking up that damage, so you didn't get. Otherwise, if you don't have an auto taunter in there, you could pretty much kiss one of your characters goodbye immediately with that team. So fun. You put Leia in that team too. Lots of DPS.
Oh yeah.
Next, I could see them having potential in 3v3 also. Just
yeah.
Pure DPS. Wigs with Leia or
I'd put him with a Scarif.
Yeah, Scarif Rebel Pathfinder. Yeah.
Good luck killing them because they get so many buffs.
Yep. Speaking of the Rebels, I have CLS, Han, and Chewie.
Yeah, I'd still save them for offense every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they counter so many people. That's kind of one of the things I look at is like how many teams do they counter? They counter a lot of teams, so I keep them for offense. And once again, that combo right there, CLS, Han, and Chewie as a 3v3 team would be very deadly.
Ugly, yeah.
Yeah. JTR squad.
I like her for offense, although she's easily countered by a Night Sister on defense. Like an offensive Night Sister beats her defense. But that being said, if they throw their Night Sisters on defense, you have a very, very hard to beat team on defense if you throw JTR on defense.
I lean towards offense just because of how many teams JTR counters. Not so much that they're difficult as far as beating on defense, because I know it is a difficult team to beat on defense, but it allows me a lot of flexibility as far as counters based on what the opponent puts then.
Yeah, I'm in the same mindset. I like the flexibility.
She's old meta, not old as in like super old, but like she's still an extremely strong team, and she will pretty much beat every team we've just listed, except for maybe Treya and Revan. So, yeah, I think offense is just kind of where she sits.
Yeah, and then following right behind, OG Resistance.
Definitely offense.
Oh, man, I thought you were going to say defense there. I was all ready for it. People don't know how to handle the OG Resistance.
The AI doesn't know how to handle the OG resistance.
Right, yeah.
Minor details. And 3v3 team be perfect on offense also, because all you need is Poe, Finn, and Resistance Trooper with all the exposes, so that would be a perfect 3v3 team. Rogue One.
Defense.
Yeah.
I'll explain in a sec, but...
Yeah, I have defense.
I'd put them on defense, but I split those up. I put Chase with CLS.
Yeah, okay.
I think that Zeta Gen lead with Cassian K2 as a trio spreads a lot of starting buffs that allows them to survive the initial onslaught. And then with Jin's resurrect ability, it kind of extends the longevity and the way K2 kind of interacts and all the called assists. I think that they work really, really well with like old Ben and Leia. because Old Ben lands a lot of debuffs and controls a lot, and all those debuffs turn into exposes for Jin's lead instead of Chase, for example, or even just Scarecrow Pathfinder and Biston if you want to stay true to the Rogue One. Both of those work really well with the team. So I think that Rogue One still has a strong spot. More so on defense. I think more so on defense, more that nobody really faces them, right? Like, nobody goes up against them very often, so you just don't know how to deal with them.
Yeah. And then finally, the last team that we mentioned, Rex. I have Rex Wampa. That's usually who I run, but, I mean, just any Rex team, really.
I like my little tricky Rex team on defense, but I've, of course, used him multiple times on offense to just kind of smash through CLS wall or General Kenobi wall or anything like that. Rex just has his functionality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say if you're in a younger shard and you have Rex or Wampa, definitely put him on defense. You're probably not going to find as much out there to counter him at a lower level than you would higher up.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So those were all the teams. I mean, we kind of went through. There are a lot of them. That
was a good list.
Yeah, but that was kind of teams off the top of my head that people can start thinking about building those teams based on what we actually suggested. So write them down, go through, create a list in your mind, whether you're filling out a team that, say you have 3 out of the 4 characters, or 3 or 4 of the characters and just need that 5th character to fill in the team. Start building up those last little bit of those characters to actually create these teams. That way you can actually set defenses, because a lot of people get a little bit hodgepodged and aren't working on these full teams and are mixing and matching them. And when they're getting into the Grand Arena now, they just don't have enough pieces to go everywhere.
Yeah, I think you guys should post this on your Discord. I think this like, just kind of a baseline or a springboard for everybody would be a great opportunity, you know. Obviously, it doesn't detail like what is in a Maul team, but just knowing that Maul is a successful defensive team, Zeta on him is not completely wasted. Like, it's worth it. We're considering like Qui-Gon Jinn, on the other hand, is probably not the best Zeta anymore.
Yeah, there's some cool little.
Thanks for pointing that out. Appreciate it.
There's some cool little cheat sheets out there that kind of have these teams and then counters to these teams as well. So if you do come up against a Wigs on defense, how do you what's the best counter for it?
Yeah, but that's the beauty of Grand Arena is we've already burned through our roster. We've already faced 6 defensive teams, so maybe we don't have that counter anymore. So that's kind of that opportunity for everybody to like really strategize that out and think about like, what am I going to put on D? What am I going to put on O?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, let's start wrapping this up and get through that. What Stan already alluded to and what has caused so much pain to him, the shard shuffle.
Yeah. Django went free to play. We thought, pretty much figured it was coming. Maybe a little earlier, but I should probably just go ahead and bump all these dates up a week. And kind of lost in the shuffle. IG 2000 hit the tables as well. So that's the last of the bounty hunter ships going free to play. So if you're expecting to use them for Millennium Falcon like I am, Panic Farm starting now.
Yeah, what does that put at? How many weeks is that from a Panic Farm, Stan?
Usually they give us about 3 weeks from the last free to play hitting the table before they're used for anything.
Which puts it right after Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Right around the new year? Okay.
Yep, I would expect January to have that Millennium Falcon.
That makes sense. We come off the holidays. They're going to be out of the office for the entire week for the holidays, and then as soon as they get back, they launch a legendary event, and we all scream and yell.
Oh yeah, that's the way it works. Or they go through and announce it right before they leave and have us panic farming.
Exactly.
And they'll have to hear the yelling because they aren't in there.
Here's the quiz. Our community manager will deal with it, and we're out for the weekend.
Yeah.
Right. See you next year.
We'll give you the kit when we get back. And speaking of panic farms, let's get into that bump and grind list. Obviously, Stan, you already said you're working on Ewoks. I'm working on Ewoks. Ethan, you're working on Ewoks, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what my guild chat says also with everybody. So
Right, yeah.
every once in a while you have those people showing off by gearing up a bounty hunter or a scoundrel team or someone else random, and you're like, yeah, you're the jerk that went through and had the Ewoks already farmed. Well played, sir. Well played.
It is the dirt, and they are not going to get C-3PO, and then they're going to complain about it in a week and a half, and we're going to be like, well, you shouldn't have gotten Dengar to gear 10.
That is right. Well, unless they don't have Chewie, and the Chewie event is coming out, so, you know.
At RGP, they should really be ahead of that curve.
Yeah. Pick your poison there. But, I mean, hard nodes, I'm going after Vandor Chewie and just Houndstooth and just doing my 8 attempts for each. I'm not refreshing them or doing anything like that crazy with them because I'm spending everything for gear. I need those extra energy to farm gear up to try to get these Ewoks up quicker. Anybody else doing anything different as far as what their farms, or they just doing the bare minimum on these hard nodes currently?
I'm doing a little bit of a refresh, but I'm not going hard like I normally would. Working on, I'm just so far off. I'm almost resigned to not getting Millennium Falcon at this point, because if I need IG 2000, it's just not happening.
I'm going all in.
You are.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm definitely not gonna spend any money, but I'm going all in. I'm chasing it. I'm double refreshing, and I'm spending 150 crystal on yellow energy plus all the refreshes trying to get it. But we'll see what happens.
I've got about 20,000 crystals saved up for my arena payout, so I could hit this hard. But I know as soon as I blow through that, we're in Revan territory again. So I'm foregoing this to.
But you got Revan, so then you're just talking about Falcon.
He's talking about Darth Revan.
Oh,
or Malak.
Damn it! I forgot about him.
Exactly. That's how they get you.
The double Revan. No one will ever see it coming. So, I mean, we're all pretty much in the same thing, except Ethan's going a lot harder on these bounty hunter ships that I wish I could currently, but like I said, I want to make sure these Ewoks are ready to go and I can cruise through this event and not have to spend hours upon hours on it, because I want the Golden God. So, on that note, we're all working towards that. Let's wrap this up. Let's clean up everything. Ethan, if you want to remind us of your Twitch stream, in which I will go through and put it in the show notes also. Just give us a quick little rundown, and so that way we can get out of here.
Yeah, so my Twitch stream is Ethien02. It's hard to spell, and so he'll put it in the show notes. And it's also my YouTube channel, Ethien02. It's all spelled out, no zeros, no twos. It's all just letters. And then, of course, as they mention every single stream, which I appreciate, you can check us all out at thealliancegaming.com. It's where all of our guilds and all of our content creators funnel all of the information that we produce into one location.
Yep. And I'm going to go and correct myself before I forget. It was on the official calendar, but talking about C-3PO, that's going to be this week, scheduled for the 14th. So a few more days to get your Ewoks ready, and that should be out before we record next time. So best of luck getting him unlocked. Check our Discord. We'll have strategies up and, content and all that.
I will live stream it. I'll live stream unlocking it 3 times. Try and get strategies out.
Yeah, you will more than likely hear Stan yelling at Reddit on the Discord about them complaining about the difficulty or how it was too hard or too easy.
I'm in a good mood. My Christmas lights are up. Christmas music is playing. I'm not doing that to myself. I'm gonna stay in a good mood and just stay away from Reddit.
It's because he's gonna get sick again. That's why.
Yeah,
exactly. My body can't handle another one.
All right, guys. You know where to find us. Go through, hit us up, and man, everybody, best of luck on farming your Ewoks, and I hope everybody gets their Golden God. So until next time, guys. Later.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Cantina Vizsla. And remember, if you like what you hear, make sure you rate, review, and comment down below. You can contact us at cantinavizsla@gmail.com. And, as always, remember, don't drink the bantha milk.